Tennessee, where freedom is alive. You hear shots ring from the woods. Take on 45. Life is good. She's wherever any probably should. There's conflicts here in Nashville neighborhood. Way up free. Life is good. He's always shooting down in the wood. He probably wouldn't do it if he could. His life is good. Wouldn't leave it even if he could. His life is good.
Yes, Hickok 45, your internet shooting companion. Coming to you from Tennessee, the beautiful land of Tennessee, the beautiful land of Loretta Lynn. Yes, and the Grand Ole Opera. So thought we'd throw that in this week. More about that, right? So good to see you. Glad you're here, and you know, and that the weather is fine. I'm not standing in the rain. I'm, you know, beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous environment this weekend, and so I'm really happy about that. I've got one of my favorite, maybe my favorite, 8mm out. You ever seen an 8mm round? It's a big old bullet, and it is thrown by this G98. That's what you saw. No bait and switch this week. It's what you saw in the thumbnail. It even has the roller coaster sight. Hadn't been ripped off. Good old bolt gun, G98. Guess when it was made or came about? Yeah, guessed it, 1898. The Gewehr 98. This one was made in what, 03, I think? No, 04, 1904. 1904. Most of you know that, the deal there, right? The model of a gun. Quite often is it's named after the year the patents were filed, or the firearm was first sold, or whatever. But then it might have been made for 20 years or 50 years or 100 years, you know. So you have a firearm that is called a model G98, or an 1892, or an 1886, or a 1873, you know, model, but made in several different years, right? Same firearm, just made different years. Technically, the Colt Single Action Army, that was its official name. It's also called an 1873, you know, a Colt sometimes, whatever. Still being made, you know. It's a model 1873. So anyway, enough education. Some of you probably have too much education, right? So here we are, yeah, man, and then of course barrel stall and Talon grips. I don't have any Talon grips on this rifle. I do have a limb saver just to give me some added length. Because I wanted to really enjoy this. I was in the mood. You know, occasionally I'll bring a rifle over here, and I just am getting things together and putting it in my four-wheeler. The mule, I forget to pick out the right size limb saver. I've got several of these, and I just forget about it. But I need to not forget that, because I enjoy. The whole reason I come out and shoot a good old bolt action is I enjoy it so much, and I enjoy it more if it fits a little better. It just adds to the enjoyment factor for me. So yeah, enjoy that. Nice rifle, nice rifle. You notice I just had 4 rounds in it, I think. I joke about standing in the woods talking to myself, or talking to a tripod, talking to a camera. Well, it wasn't a joke today. I talked for a little bit to the tripod and the camera. I literally did not have it on. I took a shot, and did I have the recording on? Make sure I got the recording on. I turned around, the red dot wasn't there. So that told me you all were not listening. You were not listening. You missed some great stuff. Really, really funny jokes, all kinds of things. No, probably didn't miss much. But I'm back, I'm here, and I'm recording now. So no excuse. What you want to know about? Anything? Let me let you know where John's going to be. Some of you have been catching him, but he's in Arkansas. I think I've been saying Arizona, Lowell, Arkansas. on November 3rd and 4th at the Grove, and in Huntsville, Alabama, at the Stand Up Live there, December 15th through the 17th, hosting that weekend. Jamie Lissow will be there that weekend, and I'm going to try to get to that. And then Zany's on December the 18th. Jamie Lissow is going to be there, here in Nashville, that day too. So anyway, catch John. He's a funny guy, really is. And can I shoot this thing again? Enough ammo, yeah. No, this is a Jewel. I don't know if you're familiar with the G98. Most of you are familiar with the K98. Well, this is the daddy, I guess, of the K98, and longer version of it. Used World War I and other places, but just a really nice rifle. Nice rifle, and they're rare. Rare as hen's teeth, as they say. You can find a K98 around, but a G98 just don't show up very often. And I lucked into this one several years back. Let's see, I missed that red plate, didn't I? So let's see if I can pop it. That feels better. Drop that turkey again. Let's just scare it. I scared again. I think I need to paint that sight. Okay, so y'all tell me where I'm going. Let me try the gong. I know I hit it. I hit the turkey earlier. I don't know what's going on there. I do need to. I was looking at that. I thought I had painted it. Now, when I say paint it, what I've determined with like rifles like this, what just really helps a lot is take a little white paint and just barely touch it. Just a little speck of white paint on it. And so you can at least see it, you know, whatever the background is, pretty much. Maybe, unless you're shooting at white, I don't know. So, yeah, oh, that's right. Let's see. Yeah, that was right. Y'all weren't watching. I just got stung by, I thought you were here. I got stung by a yellow jacket. Sitting here talking, that was it. Maybe the yellow jacket was trying to remind me that the camera was not on. I bet that was it. I bet that was it. Yeah, you really did miss it. My friend, you'd have loved that. Yeah, you'd see me crying on camera. Yeah, I put a little Valsol on it. Like you can see it, they make a weird little dot, swollen a little bit. It's just like a few minutes ago. He came out of nowhere. I don't know what he's doing here. They're not like wasps build nests under tables and things, I don't believe. Yeah, I don't know, around here there's so much action, moving and shooting over here. We did a video over here yesterday, messing around, or the day before. So it's not like this is untouched area, virgin territory. It's not a likely place to have a hole in the ground. Wouldn't be my choice if I were a yellow jacket or a green jacket, blue jacket. But man, that sucker stung me, and I looked mine, there he was, still hanging on my hand, biting or stinging, one or the other. Anyway, such is life, right? But you know, these things are not easy to come by. I bought this at Franklin Gun Shop in Franklin, Tennessee, of all places. It's so sad they went out of business. They're out of business. This is one of the coolest gun shops in Tennessee. They advertised what 10,000 guns or something, and they had them. And they had half of those or more were used guns or things like this. You know, so not many gun shops like that around, are there? There's a lot of gun shops that are kind of sterile and have all the new guns, but you're not going to walk in and see an M1 carbine on the rack, you know, or anything like this, you know. So that's the reason I really hate to see that shop go out of business, because it was kind of unique in that sense, you know, unique. But anyway, I understand they might have been bought by some other gun shop, large gun shop. I don't know. That might just be a rumor. And if that is the case, I hope they maintain that same sort of inventory, you know, variety of inventory. I hope it reopens. It's not open right now as far as I know. But that's where I found this, and wasn't even looking for it, but there it was in a case. And at the time, I didn't realize they were that hard to come by or that rare, you know. But you look around the web or just anywhere, any gun show, and with the intent of finding even a reasonably nice G98, Gewehr 98, and you're going to strike out most of the time, 99% of the time, I think. But cool gun, sweet to shoot. Any Mauser is really sweet, you know, no doubt about that. So, what else? Well, yeah, Loretta Lynn passed away this week, and that may not, a lot of you may not even know who that is. Really not. Google her, you know. I happen to grow up under the influence of country music, so I probably know more about country music just through osmosis than you would expect than a lot of people, because even though when I was a teenager and then on up, my favorite music was, well, some country and then rock, classic rock. It's just we didn't know it was classic at the time. Who knew? All the great rock music from the 60s and 70s was classic at the time, or was going to be the last great music. That was a real cut, wasn't it? Current music, contemporary music. But my parents were just big fans of country music. Dad was a musician. He played banjo and guitar, and got together. A lot of people in my family did, in extended family, cousins and uncles, and they would get together like once a week or so, at least once a month, and several of them or a bunch of them or whatever, just play music. Going up Cripple Creek or Foggy Mountain Bridge, all those songs, and some I didn't know, many I didn't know, but they, you know, fiddle players in my family, banjo. Dad was mainly the banjo guy, and lots of guitar players, piano players, just a lot of you know, musical talent that I didn't get in the family. There's at least one, maybe two, that have made a living doing it. Not stars or anything, but they have made a living. You know, it's like anything else. There are a lot of people making a living, maybe a good living, in music, but you don't know who they are. They're not famous, you know. So anyway, so I grew up with that. We had this TV in the 50s that our first TV, pretty sure it was the first one we ever bought in about, I don't know, 54, 5, 6, I don't know, longer there. And it was kind of a unique, as I look back on it. Mom and Dad were not ones to splurge on anything much, but it was a kind of a tall TV, the opposite of a lot of the console TVs and stereos and things you think about and see. It was a taller one, and it was rectangular, but tall, you know. And in the bottom part of it, the bottom half, was record player. Had slots on either side. I don't think I've ever seen one like that other than that one. But then the bottom pulled out. The speaker was kind of in the front, but you pulled it out, slid out, and there was the record player. And you played it out, and you could play it, close it up while you're playing, because the speakers, you know, were not affected. And so anyway, you know, I didn't have any music albums or anything when I was 5 or 8 or 10 or whatever, and so they, you know, whatever music I heard on albums and things, and there weren't a lot of radios played around houses, sort of thing. 3 TV stations, so the music I heard was what Mom and Dad liked, and that's how I listened growing up hearing Marty Robbins and Tennessee Ernie Ford and Eddie Arnold and then of course Johnny Cash and Buck Owens, all those people, and Hank Williams Jr. and all the albums that Mom and Dad had. So I was indoctrinated basically hearing all of that. I liked it just fine. You know, grew up with it and everything, but I gravitated towards, you know, later the Beatles and Bob Dylan and Led Zeppelin, even, you know, all that kind of thing later on in the 60s and 70s. But I've always liked country music just fine. Loretta Lynn, you know, Dolly Parton, Reba McEntire, all those people. I like Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson. I've always liked them, and I like them a lot. I listen to on XM radio, one of my main stations. I pop over to like news, classic vinyl, which is classic rock. If you have XM, you're familiar with that maybe. So in my car, I have XM. And I basically 3 places. I used to listen to sports talk too. That was the 4th one, but I kind of got away from. They all have gotten so woke. I don't really listen to that anymore. I'm either on the news, classic vinyl, and if they're not playing something I want, I'll pop over to Willie Nelson's Roadhouse, which is an XM station, and listen to old country music. And then another, what's it called, Prime Country, you know, maybe I'll pop to it occasionally too. But I like that old country music, you know, those old Johnny Cash songs, or Willie Nelson, Charlie Pride, just whoever, Donna or Dolly Parton. So yeah, I know about country music, and of course Loretta Lynn. But I don't seem to play her as much, but she was a big one, and she's gone now, if you hadn't heard, you know, this week. I knew something was up because I heard on a talk radio station, local talk. I was in the car, and they were talking a lot about her for some reason. And this was not a radio station. I mean, not a music station. So I said, something's up. You know how it is. You come in late, you know, and everybody's talking in the news. There's a lot of talk about some entertainer all of a sudden. You know, it could mean they passed away. And that was the case. Can I shoot this again? So anyway, with Miss Loretta Lynn, when Mom and Dad would come down to visit back in the 70s and 80s, we would take them around, show them some of the places where the country music celebrities and singers lived. We knew quite a few of those where they lived, and we drove down to Bucksnort, I guess was that exit there where her place is, her ranch or whatever you call it, 100 acres I think or so. We drove by there. We didn't do a tour. I don't know if they even did tours, but so we would do that. We had pretty good luck doing that. We got to show them a lot of different places and people that they grew up with a lot of these people, and you know, and partially, and they might have been a little older than they were, but they kind of grew up with a lot of those people. And then so it was neat for them to come down here and visit and be able to see those places like that. I remember I don't think I didn't really know him. There was a country singer, not Carl Perkins, Carl Smith, I think. Carl Smith or Carl Perkins, one of the other, Carl Smith, I think. But you know, Dad knew his music and all that, and we were out on in Franklin area because I lived out there then, and a lot of them lived out there. Can't think of the name of the road. It's on the tip of my tongue, but it's the same area Tom T. Hall, if you've ever heard of him, lived, and it was back that same road, and it was Carl Smith, I think, or Perkins. And we rode by his house because somehow I knew where he lived. We'd gotten the address or something, and his house was way back, and there was a fence. It's not like you can go knock on the door and visit people, of course. But I just wanted to drive by because Dad's a big fan. And we get down there and we see where it is, and there's a big field in the front, a large field, and board fence, I think. And there's someone riding a horse out through there. So we stopped, not any traffic really. We stopped the car, and he rode, whoever it was, rode over to the fence by the road on his horse. Somebody just out riding around, and it was him. It was Carl Smith or Carl Perkins, one or the other. And I think we got out of the car, not just the window down, and talked to him for a little bit. So Dad got a big kick out of that. That was neat, you know, to just drive by, and there he was, happened to be on the horse, riding out, you know, around the road, and that he would even, you know, come over and say hi and talk, and instead of riding back the other way when he saw a car stop. And you know, we didn't expect it or weren't trying to hassle him or anything, but and that's the way a lot of those folks in the country music world are. You might not get that same reaction if you drove by somebody's house, and it was a punk rock star, right? But anyway, and I guess even at that time, he wasn't like a huge celebrity, you know, by that time, and he was from kind of the old school, and so he wasn't just smothered with fans coming by trying to get in his house or anything. But I'll never forget that. That was because Dad got such a kick out of it, and it was so random, you know, that actually happened. So anyway, I have all kinds of country music stories. Let's shoot something. How about a red bowling pin? Wow. Well, let me see if I can hit that turkey again. I don't know whether I was going high or low, or left or right. There we go. I might have been going high. I held a little bit lower that time, I think. Like I said, I need to paint the front sight. How about you, bowling pin? Oh no, how about a 2-liter? How about a bowling pin right here? I wonder if I can shoot this target without blowing it over. I'll back up a little bit. You'll just see the hole. Maybe you'll see the barrel. There we go. I got back far enough. Yeah, for those people new to firearms, it wasn't the bullet hitting the cardboard and the paper that almost knocked it over, right? Yeah, it's the blast. It's the blast. We've had, I may have talked about this. I think it was over here one time in the video, back when there was a lot of grass here in summer or something, a couple of years ago. And I remember, I forget what the video is, but I occasionally see it comment about, wow, see the ricochet back, that grass move or something, because I think it's a bullet doing that or something. You know, it's just the blast, that wave coming out of a high-powered rifle, AR-15 or almost any rifle. You just get that. It's like if I stood up there close with a 44 Magnum, or even from right here, it might knock that over. But as you know, a bullet doesn't really have that effect. It goes right through that kind of thing. Like I could almost take a bullet and a little rock the size of a bullet or a bullet and throw it really hard myself, hard as I can, and go right through that paper and maybe the cardboard. And it's not even going to move the stand, is it? So it's the blast that does that. It's the blast. And it's a blast doing it. So what else? Anything you're dying to hear about? Watch out for the scammers again. They're still full time. I see everybody's name in there too on these scams. People trying to, pretend they're Colio Noir or and other people I've never heard of. So there's no end to that. No end to that. I had a thought. It occurred to me this week. Am I imagining this, or does there seem to be a rebirth in interest in the 1911? You know, it just seemed like, I know it seems silly. It's like saying, does there seem to be a new interest in eating? You know, because for a lot of people, 1911, is sacred, and and it's their primary, their most interesting firearm to them. That's never changed, of course, for some people, but it's never really changed for me. I've always liked them, but I don't know. It seems to be less hate and more interest lately, at least on the internet. Just my reaction to videos and things. I don't know. Because it seems like back 7-8 years ago, just everybody, it was fashionable to hate on a 1911. I don't know, maybe people just gotten smarter about firearms in general. Maybe they have grown, more people have grown to appreciate classic firearms. Hopefully, I hope we have helped in that regard, whether it's things like this or whatever, 1911s or anything, but I don't know, I see more love for the 1911, whether it's old ones or new ones or just anything. And not that everybody's carrying a 1911 now, and maybe not that even more people are carrying a 1911. It's still probably even fewer than 5 years ago. I don't know, but just an appreciation. Seems like the appreciation for it the enjoyment of them has picked up a little bit. I don't know if that's my imagination or what. I've wondered for a long time why more people don't have an appreciation for so many of the classic firearms. You know, whether it's a lever gun or a muzzle loader or anything. It's beyond me why anybody would not like any of those, right? Everybody can't afford to just, well, I think I'll get me a single action and shoot that for a while. Now I think I'll get me a lever gun. You know, it's a budget issue as far as actually experiencing them oneself. You know, you've got to either borrow one or buy it or whatever, rent it. But it just in terms of the hate or the love, you know, for those things, I think we're all getting a little bit better. Not just the 1911, but I don't know. I just see more interest maybe in all the classic firearms. Just maybe it's in firearms in general. You know, we've had a huge increase in the number of shooters over the last few years, thanks to our brilliant politicians, partly. I saw them wear the yellow jacket. They're coming after me again. Well, it's swollen more than I normally swell up. Well, I don't know, maybe not. I don't have serious reactions to bee stings usually. If that was a sting, I don't know if it's a bite or a sting. I think it's a sting. But so anyway, I think with more people being into firearms now, the new millions and millions of people that have gotten interested, thanks to partly to our politicians, maybe a lot of those people have developed an interest and didn't realize how interesting the world of firearms is and the rich history with so many firearms. You know, you've seen me with like flintlocks and everything else, and it's just fascinating, you know, to me, which reminds me of this week I personified the old saying about variety being the spice of life, I guess. I think I've talked about this, maybe last week or so, how I've been involved in shooting flintlocks and AKs and everything else, but in on a 2-day period, we did a video with the flintlock. We did the first video with the flintlock. Not posted it yet. You know, the one I brought out Sunday, 3 weeks ago. We did a video on that gun, finally. And we finally did a video with my Chinese AK-47 Select Fire, full auto. And we did them 2 different days back to back. So how's that for a schizophrenic? How's that for being a real weirdo? One day, the first day we did the AK, I guess, and the next day did the flintlock. And it was really only because I was in the mood to do both of them. I was in the mood to finally do a video with that AK and got it out. And then I'd been messing with the flintlock, and I thought I had it pretty much to where I could at least shoot it well enough to enjoy doing first video with it. And I got it out that day and said, yeah, we might do this. I think so. Let me get out, change the flint in it, put a new flint in. I shot, took a few shots. John wasn't here yet, and I just want to make sure I knew and remembered where to hold, and if I can hold it steady and not flinch, you know, where it hits, so that the biggest obstacle is not, are the sights on, but knowing it's just me, you know, if I'm missing, that kind of thing. I like to get to that point with any firearm, you know. And so anyway, we did them both in 2 days. So that's how weird I am. And I enjoyed both of them, you know, thoroughly. You know, so flintlock to AK machine gun, you know, full auto to flintlock, you know. So anyway, that was fun. And you know, speaking of sights, yeah, that's what I like to do. When I was competing, I didn't really take shots. I couldn't really take shots. I didn't feel like it before I went to a match usually, because I'd leave usually early, and I don't generally take a shot around here until like 10 o'clock, you know. But I would fudge a little bit. If I was leaving at 9 or 8:30, I'd go out on the range, and I'd just verify, okay, with whatever it was, my 1911 or Glock or anything, pick out a small target, smaller, and just make sure I was holding that thing really careful. Take about 2 shots, maybe 3 shots on something where I could tell where I hit. And it may just take one shot or two, and it, okay, yep, that hits right where I'm aiming. That, yeah, I know it was a good let off. I was steady, bang, it's right on, no question. And it just adds a element of confidence when you go to the match or whatever you're shooting, to know that if you're missing, your sights aren't way off. Because that's happened to me a few times. You all know in videos, we shoot so many different guns. I think the sights are on okay, but then we do a range 2 or something, and the smaller targets, and I'm missing, and I'm not sure why or whatever. Try not to do that too much, in recent years, but it just helps immensely to know it's not you, or it is you. It's not the gun if you miss one. Then you're not like overcompensating. Oh wow, seems like this thing shoots to the right. Let me hold left. Seems like it shoots high right. Let me see if I can hit it by holding. You don't want to go through all that stuff. Like in a video, too much, or at a match, it's too late for that. So anyway, that's what I wanted to make sure. I've shot it enough now to know sights are pretty much on. I should be able to hit. I brought it out, and like I said, I was plinking with it because I wasn't sure we were going to do the video, but I had everything out, and I wanted to. And unless I run into a lot of trouble hitting anything at all and had to figure my problem out, but I shot at the gong, I shot the buffalo and the ram, at 70 yards, whatever it is, and I, 3 for 3, hit them all, and I was hitting everything I wanted to hit that I felt like I should be able to hit at this point. And yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. This is fun. This is fun. And plus, I was just really pleased that the sights are on, and then I'm getting better, with the flint. I'm getting better at handling that flinch element of a flintlock. So we did them both. But that is, I mean, I don't always follow my own advice, with some guns, whatever we're doing. But with my own guns especially, that I shoot much at all, I want to know those sights are right on, if at all possible, before I shoot them much. And it just adds to the enjoyment of the firearm, right? A little advice there. And I almost violated that again. The Henry, which I almost brought out today, because I got it a little dirty and I enjoyed shooting it. The iron frame Henry, beautiful, beautiful Henry rifle. We were going to do a video or two this week with that, and I just wanted to get it out again. We hadn't done a big game hunt or small game hunt with that thing. It's just a gorgeous rifle and fun to shoot, just like the brass Henry. And I hadn't shot it in a long time, and maybe a year or two. And I said, I better look at it. I don't remember. I think the sights were on, but let me pop up a video that we did with it. So I opened up the range 2 video that we did with it, and was watching myself shoot that thing, and it wasn't horrible, but when I missed, it was kind of horrible. I was going to the left consistently. After 2 or 3 of those little targets, I kept going to the left, and I shoot again and maybe go to the left. I said, that thing looks like it shoots to the left. Went on and went on and went on. If you've seen that video, you know what I'm talking about. And it just went to, I noticed the first couple shots, or shot or two, there were 2 hits on the red plate. I always start on the red plate with the range 2 video. And I noticed when I hit it to start the video, because I'd probably taken a shot before the video. Oh, let me make sure I know how to hold this thing, and I put it on the red plate and hit it. Yeah, let's go. Well, I noticed after I shot it the first time in the video, and John was close up on it or whatever, there were 2 hits on it that I shot on it, but they were both over on the left edge of it. And then when I was missing on the smaller targets, it was to the left. So being the genius I am, I figured out before that video was over, and even the genius in the video started talking about it, and he realized it was shooting to the left and started compensating for that, and actually hitting. So long story short, it was shooting to the left. Okay. And so I'm glad I pulled up that video. And so I reminded myself which way the sights needed to move. You can only move the rear sight on it. So before we did the video this week, I got it out on the shooting bench, and I tapped that rear sight over to the right, okay, carefully, and got it right on, best I can tell. Now, if I put it in a vise or on a bench rest and shot 20 shots on paper, 20 really perfect shots in terms of trigger release and all that. You know, maybe it's not exactly on, but it's really, really close now. So that's what you want to do ideally, and not wait till after the video or after you go deer hunting and miss the deer, you know, or after you're in a shooting match and you lose horribly. Okay, so but this thing seems to be on. I just need to make the sight a little bit more visible. Reckon the German soldiers did that. They probably would have if they could have, right? So anything else you want to know about? I think I'll open up another box here. What was I gonna? Yeah, I hope you enjoy the MPX video this week. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool gun. I miss it already, having sent that back. Really a sweet shooter. Really, really sweet. Also, was I mean to the people in Florida last week? I mean, nobody said I was, but I was listening to that later, some of that Sunday video, and yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm a little heartless. There are a lot of people suffering down there. You know, I'm giving them a hard time about not preparing, you know. I mean, there are people that their house was blown away, you know, and all that kind of thing. And, you know, even if you are a bit of a prepper, like a lot of us probably, or you're prepared for things, you know, most of us aren't prepared for our house blowing away, I guess, you know. It's just that, I don't know, you know, even if you're really living in poverty or you just don't have many resources at all, I know that life is tough, because I've been kind of there. I've had incomes, such a wide range of income, you wouldn't believe it. I have lived in all sorts of income worlds. So I know what it's like when you just don't have extra money, you know, and everything. It's just that no matter what your situation is and however you got there in terms of where you live, at least you got to be aware you're living in a hurricane zone. You know, and it could happen. I mean, it would bother me as a thing, no matter what. Even if I'm living on the street, I have no money. Okay, I'm living on the street, and a hurricane could show up in a week. What would I? And I would be asking. I hope I would be at least asking myself if I was sober. Okay, what am I going to do if there's a hurricane? You know, have a plan. Well, actually, maybe I wouldn't have a plan. If I'm living on the street, quite often it's because I'm living without plans, right? Not always, but quite often, not exactly the planning type, think ahead type, you know, if you find yourself often in destitute situations. But here I am being mean again to people. But you know, you're in Florida. I mean, again, it's like someone's living at the foot of a volcano that everybody keeps saying is going to erupt again. You know, it does it every 100 years or something. It's due. Or I don't know, even though there's no signs of it yet. It just should be something on your mind that, okay, this could happen. What am I going to do if it does happen? You know, and if you have a house, you shouldn't have a house unless you have insurance, you know. I mean, I don't know. If you can't afford flood insurance or whatever it is, maybe you should live somewhere where you can't afford it. You got all those issues. But I don't know. So that's I guess what I'm talking about. Here I am being mean again. I didn't really help matters, did I? I'm still being mean. I'm just trying to get people to think about things. But man, it is really bad. It's really bad. Even if you had everything covered, really great insurance. Whew, I mean, I have insurance on my house. I don't want it to burn down, blow away. You know, the way it disrupts your life. Wow, think about it. Losing all your papers, if nothing else. You got the inconvenience of it, of course, but think of all the, I don't know, sentimental artifacts or papers and just different things that, you know, get strung out around the world, especially a hurricane, you know, or a tornado, or a fire just disappears, of course. It's like it never existed. So it's a bad situation, no doubt about it, and it's going to be a while before a lot of those folks are back to normal. In fact, a lot of them still don't have power, right? So that in and of itself, if you've ever had your power go out, and probably all of you have, it's kind of unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It's kind of a shame, isn't it, that we're so dependent on electricity. I mean, it's a great thing. I'm glad we have it, but boy, when it goes out, you don't realize how vulnerable we are how much we depend on things like that, just having power. You know, you can't even go to the closet. You can't see anything in there. You know, you have to have that flashlight with you all the time. You're walking around the house, turning lights on, you know, that don't come on everywhere you go. It's just crazy. I've got the Generac system now, so we're good for a while at least. And that's, again, you know, just planning, you know, for those sorts of eventuality. You can't plan for everything, and I can't run the Generac and have power, you know, for a month or anything. I don't have a big enough propane tank for that, but, you know, for a week or something, you know, I'm maybe good if it keeps running. But so for short-term things, you know, you can do some things. But the real thing is not having, like, water. If you don't have a few extra bottles of water and you live in a hurricane zone, you know, enough water and food to last a week or something, what is wrong with that picture, you know? But again, if it all gets blown away, then that's bad. It's really, really bad. But anyway, a lot of help is down there. Looks like the politicians have it, you know, doing a great job down there, doing a great job. And you'd expect that in Florida. So, well, anyway, sorry about you folks in Florida. If you're even able to be on the internet to hear me making fun of some of your neighbors, right? But there's some guy named Potential Spam that keeps trying to call me. I don't know why. Unusual name, isn't it? Let's shoot again. Okay, I think I'm keeping you too long already. Feels like it. Maybe because I didn't turn the recorder on. It's part of it. All right. Good old 8mm Mauser. It's a beautiful bullet. It really is. I enjoy it. I do enjoy the 8mm. It ain't cheap, I know that, but ammo. All right, let's shoot something. How about a 2-liter right here in front of my face? How about another 2-liter? Woo! Let me see if I can hit that turkey again. Let's see if it was a fluke. Oh, I guess it was. I think I held too low that time. All right. Almost held too low on that, but I didn't. So I think I showed this to you. Nice old rifle. You know, the wood is not especially beautiful or anything, but it's what it is. It's how it came. These roller coaster sights, the barrel bands. This one was made in 1904. 1904. It's Spandau. Just very, very cool. Very, very cool. I like it. You wouldn't think I would like, or maybe you either, a barrel this long, because it is kind of old school when you get into a barrel this long. But you know, since it is a classic, there's just something. They're easier to shoot, I think, when you're actually shooting. But now, not as easy to carry around or ride in a vehicle with it, right? That old 6.5 by 55 Swedish Mauser I have, that thing, you know, it's the same length, and you know, the Civil War rifles, there's just something about them that even with the length, they're just fun to shoot, and they feel so accurate, you know, because you get such a long sight radius, which was part of the reason for the American long rifles, you know, having such a long barrel. You know, they're more efficient with burning all the powder, but also you get that long sight radius. And if you can see the front sight, you really do get a fine sight picture on those things. It's pretty cool. So there we go. But they realize in combat, in military situations, you don't need a 40-inch barrel. You know, every country, you know, went to a shorter barrel, really. I think right across the board, with what most countries started out with, they ended up shorter, with carbines, or at least shorter rifles. I don't know if you call them carbines, like the K98, you know, the All-3 Springfields and all those were more reasonably lengthened, right, or shortened. So, okay, I've talked too long. Probably ought to have a little advice for young people. Do I? Do I have any? I don't know. Let me reiterate advice I give every now and then, which just involves what are you doing with your life, and what's your legacy? How are you going to be remembered? Do you care? You know, do you care? What are people going to think about you when you're gone, or when you're not around, even if you're alive? What do people say about you? What's your legacy? You know, have you done anything? Have you helped anybody at all? You know, is anybody going to miss you? Did you contribute anything to society? And it doesn't have to be something major, but you know, what are you doing with your life? What have you done with it? Have you, all of us, you know, what have we done with our lives? Are we doing anything worthwhile, for real? You know, it's something we all should ask ourselves every now and then. How are we going to be remembered? Now, we don't want to care too much about what people think, obviously, right? But still, I mean, it's kind of a good question to ask ourselves. How are we going to be remembered as, you know, somebody that was mean, ornery, you know, nobody you could count on, someone who kicked kittens? Yeah, I don't know, you know. And of course, someone who really would kick a kitten, or doesn't care what people think. That, you know, they don't care what people will think when they're gone, I guess. But unfortunately, there's a lot of those in society. But most people do care a little bit about what they've done with themselves, with their life, and whether they've done anything halfway constructive and have contributed, you know, at all. It doesn't mean you solve some major problem, or you went and donated your time in hurricane-torn countries, you know, or whatever, and all that sort of thing. You were a missionary in some godforsaken place, or you know, short of all that, just what have you done? Have you made anybody's life a little bit better by being around? Maybe it's just your dog or your animal. I don't know. Have you done anything positive? You know, just something we ought to ask ourselves every now and then. I think. And as you get older, you might think more about that, you know. And of course, that's another little tip. You know, some things we wait too late on, don't we? We should maybe think about a little sooner. You know, whether it's, you know, anything, preparation, finance, you name it. You know, things that are harder to reverse, harder to fix when we get older. You know, how many times have maybe many of us thought, wow, if I could only go back when I was 20 or 30 or 40, whatever, or 15, and do something differently, or just do something I didn't do, you know. Or when people die, you lose your grandparents or your parents or whoever, and if I could only go back in time and talk to them, you know. So you never know what tomorrow brings, so do it today, yeah, if it makes sense. So anyway, that's my advice, my lame advice, and I've got 5 more bullets I probably should shoot before we go away, and then I'm going to make you leave. I really am. Boy, nothing like a bolt action, is there? If you like firearms, a really well-made bolt gun is like a lever gun, and others. Just the action of it, the tool, the steel, the way it fits together in such a precision way is it's remarkable. Even though it's kind of simple, although you know, a bolt action, especially these days, does seem like, wow, that's like something Fred Flintstone could have come up with. Well, not exactly. You know, that bolt is several pieces, and the way it works and locks in and everything. You know, it was the Mauser brothers that, you know, perfected it, and it went through some different iterations, even theirs. So if you look at a bolt and how it works, if you have never had a bolt gun sometime, so even it is not as simple as it might appear. Fred Flintstone couldn't just carve one out of rock, and just because it fits in that groove, push it forward and there you go. It's not quite that simple. All right. Am I shooting too much? All right. Bowling pin. All right, good old G98. Happy to bring it out again. What a beauty. What a beauty. Yeah, that is very nice. Very nice. The wood is not nice. I mean, I have so many rifles and so many pieces of furniture that have better looking wood, you know. I'm not sure what it is about it. There's nothing bad. It's just, I don't know, just nothing special about it, about the wood. Yeah, I guess it's the contrast. The rifle is so special that you feel like it ought to be in a beautiful piece of walnut, you know, black walnut that just is extremely gorgeous, you know, like a fine Browning or Winchester rifle. But they were made for battle, you know, so they didn't waste too much time picking out the best wood, right? Especially during various wars, you know, they just, whatever they could find, it would work and was hard enough, right? So I'm gonna let you go, and I'm glad, really glad that you came by. And if you're in Florida and you're just getting your power back up, congratulations on that. Wow, tough times down there. And even though I give people a hard time for not thinking ahead, maybe preparing for every eventuality, I probably don't prepare for every eventuality either. I know I don't prepare for hurricanes enough. Yeah, maybe because we haven't had one in Nashville. As long as I can remember, not a hurricane. Like I said, it was last week though, we've had tornadoes, and man, those things pop up suddenly sometimes. So anyway, y'all have a great week, and I hope you get to shoot some. And I gave you John's schedule. I hope you get out to see John, and I hope you get out to see me next week, okay? Every Sunday, right? And then generally every Tuesday. You know, you probably know that, most of you. Generally post on Tuesdays, and then again on Thursdays, and sometimes again on Friday. You know, it just depends. So either 3 or 4 videos every week. So hopefully you're catching them. I think what I'm going to do, I was thinking about that today, with the, I may change my mind, but with the AK full auto video and the flintlock, I still, you know, I can't get out of my head how crazy I am and how weird that is to probably some people, but it was just totally normal to me. One day I'd be making a full auto AK video and shooting the heck out of that thing, and the next day doing a flintlock video and shooting the heck out of that, and enjoying both days. You know, both days kind of like this really nice weather. And I thought I might just like post those back to back. That'd be good, you know, the same. We're not not consecutive days necessarily, but maybe one of those on a Tuesday and one of them on Thursday or something. I might do it this week, so watch out for that. I might do that. Even though they're recent videos, we have other videos I want to get up. But anyway, it's the fun of shooting, man. I preach that all the time, don't I, about the variety and the different areas of it, and they're all interesting, they're all fun, and just the history. I mean, you could devote yourself for a few years to nothing but studying the history of the Mauser brothers, the Mauser rifles, and the development of them, you know, and how they were used, where they were used, and all that kind of thing. The design of the bolt and how that evolved, and you know, there's just so much involved with every genre and even every specific, you know, firearm, you know, type. So it's an interesting area. Yeah, I think many of you like history. Maybe you're young and you don't even realize it yet. When I was younger, I wasn't, that's just natural, I think. It's almost a dumb thing to say. Young people aren't as interested in history. Well, no kidding. History doesn't mean as much to you if you're 10 years old, you know, or you're 20 even. but some people it does. And the older you get, the more interesting history of anything almost becomes. I don't know why. Well, I'm not sure why. I don't know. There's reasons. You're more mature. You've learned more history about how you got here and what's happened in your state and this country, and you understand how. So it just all kind of ties in more, and you can't help but find it more relevant to your life and you know, just the world and your state and your city and whatever you're involved in. So I'm starting to ramble. Yeah. That's like the Pope saying that he's beginning to think like a Catholic, right, or something. Yeah, or what's another example? I don't know. But anyway, me saying that might be starting to ramble. First of all, I'll leave the might out of it. And then starting to ramble, that's all I do. So I'm just continuing to ramble more than I meant to. Let me phrase it that way. So I'll let you go, and I'm glad you came out on this fine Sunday. Life is good.